Good morning. Sorry for the delay. Went over to lay down on the couch for a few minutes and set an alarm and was going to get up on time, and Teddy showed up and laid down on me. And now I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. Down on me. And if you know anything about Teddy, you know that means I had. Now I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. About 40 pounds laying on me. Get rid of that echo. Good morning, Francisco. How are you, sir? Tina, you at me? You at me? you H at me? Okay, let me get back to my chat list. There I go. How's Tina this morning? How's Francisco? How's California? And not Michigan, New York, upstate New York. We're going to talk a little bit about our long dead ancestors. A little bit more. We talked about that last week. I wanted to do more. And actually, I didn't do all the research I meant to do. Sorry, I'm getting coffee. But we're going to talk about it anyway. My spousing unit's supposed to show up. And if she does, hopefully she can add to the conversation. Whew. Sorry about that. Sorry for the housekeeping here. I'm just needing to pour a new cup of coffee. Had a hard time with drips this morning in my coffee pot. I spilled coffee going into the pot. Let's see, at first I turned my kettle on dry and thought, oh no, you probably burn it up. Fortunately, I didn't. So I refilled it, and that worked. So I was lucky there. But then when I was trying to make coffee, I got almost finished, and I dribbled all over the counter. And just in case Brenda is listening, I did clean it up. Quiet crowd this morning. Carol, good morning, ma'am. I thought you might be out there in listening land. Oop, just discovered a new pocket. I'm wearing a new apron today. I'll show it to you in a minute. One my wife made me. It's going to be a shop apron, but for right now it's brand new, so it's kind of like a dress apron. So, Carol, when you can get to where you can see things, I'll show it to you. Tina has a Brenda apron, so she kind of knows what kind of work she does. Yeah. Put Teddy in that pocket. He might fit. He might be mad at me right now. I dumped him, and he surprised me. I was stretching out a little bit on the couch before I started, and just as I was getting up, he came over and jumped on my back. and got comfortable. And I never got him off. So now he's laying over there where I was at on the couch, and he's pouting. He may or may not. Here, I think Brendan would have to re-sew this pocket before he'd actually fit in it. Hey, Dean, I'm glad you got them, found them. I got my new ones now working, and actually I have a new pair waiting for me over at the eyeglass place. I need to go pick up. I got a call. They left me a message yesterday while we were at the memorial service. I cut them off because I thought it was a bogus call, and it turned out to be my glasses were ready. I need to identify that phone number, obviously, and I cannot find. What was I getting ready to do? Oh, yeah. Said my wife's going to make it down. As if Brenda's up. Well, this was, if you didn't hear me, Tina, this is was going to be, you wait? Well, you can turn your computer on if you get ready. Well, whatever you want to watch on TV, your phone, your computer, or whatever. Well, if you heard that, you know she was still waking up again. Oh, it kind of is down here too, Tina. And the mountains have snow. I heard a few minutes ago that the up on LeConte, which is, I don't know, 20, 25 miles or so from here, maybe 30, and up a few thousand feet higher than we are here in the valley. I think I heard this morning they're supposed to get about 6 inches. A friend of Brenda was talking to her last night. She lives further east in the mountains, and she was saying that they had 2 inches last night when she talked to her, and it was still snowing hard. So I don't know what they ended up with. The temperature here is just a little bit above freezing, which is, if it hits about 35, usually when we get the most snow. But we'll see. I don't think we're going to get snow. If it does, I don't think it'll matter. But I know one thing: the birds think it's going to snow or something. They emptied the feeders yesterday. They worked on the feeders hard, especially our goldfinch feeders. They were just about empty this morning. The one I've got in the backyard's got 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4. Got 10 feeding stations, and they're down to the last, 4, 2, the bottom 2 rungs. So they just about got that emptied. And Brenda's got one upstairs that's taller than mine. I don't know how many feeding stations it's got, but they took it down past halfway yesterday afternoon. The goldfinches, they were really wearing it out yesterday. So I figured that was kind of telling me the weather was going to go bad. Or they thought the weather might be going to turn bad. They felt something coming. Oh, got a guest. Morning, brother.
Howdy.
You got a black eye?
No, it's bright this morning.
Oh, okay.
Plus those make me look cool.
Well, you did look cool. That's why I wasn't even sure it was you. You were disguised. How are you this morning?
I'm moving kind of slow. I feel like I'm at Petticoat Junction hanging out with Uncle Joe.
I like that cup.
Me too.
Officially retired.
It's a good one.
I was just telling people that my bird feeders yesterday got about empty. Our finch feeders went down. They're probably 18 inches or so long, and they went down. Mine went down at least a foot. It's just down the last couple of rungs where they can feed out of it. I think we've got cold weather again. I'm thinking they were calling for.
They were prepping.
Yeah, they were calling for snow. Up on Roan Mountain yesterday, Brenda talked to a friend of hers, and I'm not sure how high up she lives up there, but she was. They had 2 inches, and it was still snowing last night.
She's living on Roan Mountain.
Yeah, up that way. Not on Roan Mountain, but in Roan Mountain, town, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Wide spot in the road, and she lives at a higher elevation than we do. I can't remember what mountain ridge she says she lives on. And maybe if Brenda comes in, she'll remember it. And Tina's got a dog that won't go out. and Danny's making up for it by bringing in enough mud for both of them. Sounds like. And then I heard, if I heard correctly, a little while ago on the news, they said here Klingman's might get 6 inches before the day's over. So it's snowing up there right now.
Yeah.
Which not too surprised. Well,
what you get to do if you're the highest point in Tennessee.
Exactly. Second highest point in the east.
Yeah.
Maybe the highest point if they pile enough rocks on it.
That's right. We could build us a mound up there.
I think somebody's already working on that.
We were 65 degrees here yesterday, which is way abnormally warm for us this time. Yeah. And but never fear, on Wednesday it's probably the high is going to be about 32 or something.
Oh yeah, good.
And we're supposed to get a bunch of snow. So
well, you knew it wasn't over.
Well, it won't be over till it's never. I've seen it snow every month in this state. So, but including July, and my mom used to always say it'd be a cold day in July.
Yeah.
Before she'd do X, Y, or Z, and then she came to visit me in Wyoming, and she figured out they existed.
Yeah, it's weather's a funny thing.
But we're seeing that, and I don't know what's going to happen. What nobody knows, but we see those long, cool summers less frequently. It seems like, but
yeah. Well, same here, except it always got hot here in the summer, but I don't know if it's just me or if it seems hotter than it used to be. I don't know. We never had air conditioning. That maybe because we were just used to it. We never had air conditioning, and so we slept with the windows open and the fan going or something if we had anything. But we slept. But maybe that's also. I don't know if my parents were. Maybe I should have checked. Maybe I'm that point now, and I don't like the hot weather, and they probably didn't either. But
well, my tolerance has narrowed dramatically. I used to like cold and I used to like hot. Now I like it to be about 58 to 62 degrees year round.
I could live with that. 72 to 75 for a high would be about right. And then it can get down in the 30s. Don't bother me too much. But below that, it starts getting a little bitey.
Yeah.
Tina was saying it. I think she was saying it was cold and rainy up there, but I don't know if they've got snow. I don't know if they've got snow. But speaking of dogs, I hear one.
Yeah.
I bet I can name that dog in 2 notes.
Yeah, I bet you can too, in 2 syllables. I don't know who he's got a hold of, but
He got
they're
hold
all
of something.
they're with him. They're all so tolerant. They weren't tolerant like that with anybody else, and that dog, for whatever reason, they just think he's the cat's meow, if you will.
They all put up with him, and
Hey, it's amazing. Nobody's beat him up. Nobody, and we got a couple dogs that beat you up if you cross them.
maybe he's just I don't know. I guess he's just too much fun. Eh?
My Vizsla, she's adopted him as her kid, and
Really?
every night she's grooming him and licking his ears and doing whatever, and he just sits there like he's a little king. I've never seen a like. I've owned a lot of dogs, and I've never seen that older dogs accept a puppy the way they have with this one. So it's fun.
I agree with him, Tina. I think that's good. That's the best temperature range, personally. I could live with that pretty much year round. That's what'd be nice. I think about Hawaii. I think they stay. I don't know how hot they get, but they don't seem to.
Well, Tina, do they consider? I guess they do. Dachshund, Dachshund. Does that mean Dachs? Does that mean Badger? Badger hound?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
There's a squirrel for you.
That's a squirrel.
But I mean, he's a little hound, half breed anyway. He's
yeah, he's half hound, half cattle dog.
Yeah, he's half border collie. So
I don't even know how you spell. How do you actually spell that word?
Dachshund, something like that.
I got SHUND. Yes, that's correct. I was going to say if I could look up the etymology of the word or what. Are how smart are dachshunds? This question asks.
Well, this one is
average intelligence.
This one is half border collie, so he's way above.
Yeah, he is probably smart.
He's sharp.
He is in the hound group, by AKC registration wise, he's in the hound group. And I was hoping they might say where it came from,
but they don't give them what dachshund means. It's got to be badger dog or something like that, or ferret dog or rabbit dog or
something like it. It's got to be something like that.
Hound, not dog. That's one of my favorite lines on what my wife would refer to as the longest movie.
What's that?
Which is The Longest Day, if you've ever watched.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, but women usually refer to it as the longest movie.
Well, I don't know if mine's watched it with me lately. So.
And the one German officer is out throwing a stick for his German Shepherd or Malinois or whatever he had, and there he's got a line in there where he says, "Where's my hound?"
Do you want to put his boots on backwards?
He's looking for his dog. It might be that guy.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. That they look at he's got his boots on backwards.
They woke him up in the middle of the night, and when the paratrooper went through the glass of the greenhouse.
Right.
And he went looking for him, and he pulled his boots on, and he's laying there shot. And later, and they're looking at his feet and said, "Is anything wrong with his feet?" And the other guy says, "No, well, his boots are on backwards."
Yeah, boots are on the wrong feet.
Dachshund does mean badger hound. I looked it up.
Cool.
That's the German meaning, which is where the dog came from.
And Tina, when I got this pup for my wife for Christmas, I asked the guy the physics Now, because Boudreaux's mother is the border collie, and Daddy is a purebred flat coated dachshund, and I just couldn't even see it that it would be physically possible, but she made it happen, not just once, but I mean, she had a previous litter with the same male, so it was, yeah.
Once you've had dachshund, you never go back, I guess.
He likes the little short black fellows. That's what he said. That's what the owner said. It was just, they're so good. I mean, he's just such a good puppy. He's done some silly things, but he's a good.
Hey, Don. Good morning. Sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to step on your story there.
Morning, John.
Tina said, "Where there's a will, there's a way," and she's, yeah, I'd have to say that's true.
They made it happen.
We had I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail about this, but when I was growing up, we used to hang out at the barn and stable with my uncles and cousins and whatnot up at their training stables. They had a barn at their house, but they had a real riding stable up and closer to town. And you know how ponies are, little ones, and they had a little stud pony, and he was about the randiest SOB I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he was always ready. And they had a big mare that came in heat. I mean, she was a big, tall horse, many hands taller than him. And by God, he thought it could happen. It couldn't. Things didn't reach right, but he, by God, thought it could. He tried. He was aggressive when he was like that. He was, you know how ponies are. I mean, they get pretty ornery anyway.
Nasty tempered little devils.
Stud pony is the worst of all. I mean, my God, if you ever should gild anything, it's a pony. And he was ornery, and he was just kind of a little guy too. He wasn't. I don't know what you call that, but he was a small, even for a pony. He wasn't miniature horse size or anything like that. Those hadn't been created yet, if you will. But he was a small on the pony side, and but he was big at heart.
Just a little runny Shetland or something.
I guess, yeah.
I've seen a ton of those little bitty, nasty tempered little.
Oh, he was on
bucking little devils.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even know who owned that horse, whose horse that was. We never rode him.
I've got some friends down in Texas that they raise ponies just for kids and like little ranch ponies and things. And about half of their ponies become bucking ponies.
Really?
They're not trainable. They're like nasty tempered little, and if you're a little kid, they're going to hurt you or could, but those ranch boys love riding those little surly, just nasty.
Do they run? I guess they run those in competition, don't they?
Yeah, I mean they've got whole like events at some, especially ranch rodeos, where kids are riding those bucking ponies, and there's people that they've got many horses too that they buck at, even at like Cheyenne, at some of the bigger rodeos. But I don't know how I feel about that. I think kids probably ought to wait a little while before they
yeah. Well, it's kind of like
on rough stock, but
yeah, because they break easier. I mean,
you probably ought to be in your early teens or so at least before you start. But yeah, they got little kids out there, 8-9-year-olds, bucking ponies and bucking mini horses, and they can still kick you in the head.
Yes, they can. I think I've seen somebody young, I don't know what the age range is, on small bulls too.
Oh yeah. Yep, they've got, and there's a whole association, and they're real. I don't know. They're still bulls, but they're pretty careful about who they allow, which bulls they allow, and they're just little tiny. They look like a big old
Yeah.
nasty bruiser or something, but they're just little bitty, and those kids have pretty good time with that. Not too many of them get hurt. More of them, I think, get hurt in the mini horse event.
They wow, that thought just flew right out of my brain.
I saw a young Navajo guy last night on a rodeo just get pile drove by a bareback horse. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's like, you need to start moving. You need to get up. And thank God he did. He got up.
That's something I don't see much on big rodeos.
Somebody getting throwed?
No. I see them getting through, but no Native American riders. Now I know they do, but in bigger rodeos, I see a lot more Native Americans riding bulls than I do riding bucking horses.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that the case, or is that just they just don't?
Well, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any statistics on that.
Yeah, well, I don't either.
There's a lot of Navajos. I know several Navajos that are pretty good bull riders, and I don't know a lot of bucking horse people that are, And then I got that friend up on the Wind River Res that's a bull rider, and
yeah.
Anyway, but if you ever want to see an exciting event, and I don't know how politically correct the terminology is anymore, but they call them Indian races.
Yeah, I've seen them.
They're riding horses.
Yeah,
and they're riding horses bareback.
Bareback, yeah.
You talk about
it's a relay too, isn't it? I mean,
you talk about some boys that can flip and ride a horse.
Yeah, I saw it.
They just fit that animal it's an amazing race. Those are amazing races.
I've seen almost a documentary about a couple of teams that were training for that. One of them was a Blackfoot team, I think. I can't remember who the other ones were, but they were kind of going through that process of training and getting ready.
They call the race Indian Relay.
Yeah, Indian Relay.
And it is. They do one up here in Lander. It is a spectacle. They are some serious riders.
That's pretty good. Something, if you want to see something cool, and I'm sure Mark has, but I mean, and maybe others have, but you see bulls, and if you watch any kind of rodeo and you see bucking bulls, and Mark and I both like to watch bucking bulls. I always have too, and I mean that was always the highlight of the national finals. Usually for me was bucking bulls, but anyway, you see these bulls and you see some of them nowadays are huge and they're strong and they're very athletic, and some of them seem super aggressive, and I guess some of them are, but then you see these other big ones that are like, well, Woopaw's kind of like this, and I think I've got to go back a generation or so that there was a bucking bull that J.B. Mooney rode a time or two, but almost nobody else ever rode him, and Bushwhacker. And you see those bulls, and when that gate opens, they're like a crazy. I mean, they're not crazy, but they're just
explode.
But yeah, I've watched, but if you see them in the back lot and they're feeding them or something, they're just like almost like cats.
Rub on them like a cat.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've watched on Instagram. I subscribed and watched like Burger. Chad Burger's got a site, and McCoy's have a site too. And you see them messing with their bulls or feeding their bulls, and they're just like almost like big dogs or something.
They're out there in the pen with them, just feeding them or whatever.
And you know what? Yeah, and you know what else is? Well, I know you've seen this, but some of those bulls, the ones that really explode and hardly anybody can ride, usually stand real still in the gate. They just stand there and wait till they get ready, and then bam, it's like they light. And then some other bulls, get crazy in the chute, and you can't hardly get on the things. And then, but you got these big championship bulls that just stand there and let you get on. It's almost like they're just baiting you to,
Well, they are.
They just like they know they'll let you get on there and relax, and then they're going to hammer you.
Yeah,
it's pretty
they're
funny.
Just waiting to, and some of them, Burger's got a few bulls that, like, you back the trailer out into the field, or HD Page has got bulls that do the same thing. You take the trailer out to load bulls, and you don't have to bring them in with horseback.
They're just getting
they go load themselves. It's like, okay, time to go to work, or time to go have fun, or however they
view it. Let's go throw some guys in the dirt.
Yeah.
It's like the old cartoon, the coyote and the sheep and the the sheepdogs. They just go in and clock in.
Time to go.
Hey, well, Paul, we have a good weekend? I went pretty good. I got through all 4 guys. See you next week, Ralph. Sir Johnson, big old problem.
You talk about squirrel chasing. There's some squirrel chasing going on this morning.
Well, that's nothing wrong talking about bucking bulls. I've got
I saw what you said you were going to talk about.
Well, I know, but
sometimes it's the same thing we always talk about.
Well, squirrels. Well, some of it is. I'm going to add a few things, but
fossils and dead people and dead animals.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like that. When Mark and I used to talk to each other, and one of us would forget something, and the question always was, well, was it about hunting? And usually it was. So we picked right. Hey, good morning, Amy. Good to see you, ma'am. Or wait a minute, as the Kinsey Day family says, hey JC. Well, I wanted to add some stuff to what we talked about last week, and my wife was supposed to kind of get up and help, but I don't know if she's going to do that or not. I've got a feeling she went back to sleep. I've come up with a new terminology. Tina, you'll appreciate this. I sent it to Mark. They have come up with a new phrase. I'm going to try to get out.
Coffee. I'll be right back. You go ahead.
Lexicon or the slang of today is how did I say it to him? I sent when you get off on a squirrel chasing topic, the term is what did I tell? How did I put that? I'm gonna look it up. Hang on a minute. I gotta remember exactly how I said it. Under my new words and phrases. It is, when I do this and get off people off stream, the term is I just squirreled you. Instead I fooled you, or
you verbed it. You turned it into a verb.
Yeah, I squirreled you. Yeah. For example, people that say I MacGyvered that thing and got out of there. Well, I just squirreled you, so I got you sidetracked and discombobulated and sent you off on another path. I need to get that put into Webster's or the new slang dictionary. I knew you'd appreciate it, Tina. I meant to tell you, you're the main person I thought of when I came up. Yeah, Brenda and I were talking, and I just said, "Huh?"
Oh, I was waving at Carol.
Oh, I came up with that in another word, and Brenda says, "Where do you get that crap?" And where'd you hear that? And I said, "I didn't. I just made it up."
It's gotta be crap.
Well, that's just her opinion. It's not mine. So, I just squirreled you right into bull.
She's a sharp woman, though. She understands things.
Yeah, she picks right. Well, she's been around me for a long time. Bless her heart. We had to go yesterday. She's probably tired. Yesterday they had the memorial service for her aunt, and we went up there and we were sitting there, and after a few minutes, it just kept getting. We were in this like little memorial room they've got at the one of the veteran cemeteries near here, and it just kept getting louder and louder and louder in there. And Brenda leaned over and whispered. She said, "You can tell the hallways are here because you can't hear anybody else speak anymore." And she's right. They get pretty. They're a talking bunch. So it was kind of an interesting little service. Her son was having kind of a hard time with it, which is natural. And the preacher got up and spoke a little bit. And he did a pretty good job because I don't think Judy was a big church goer. Now she's probably a believer, but I don't know if she went a lot. And but he got up and talked about her a little bit, and he did a good job. And then Jeff got up and he said that, you know, he kind of missed it. He said, "Mom and I used to get on the phone and just talk and buy shit," he said. And I thought, what did he say? And that's what he said. You know, I didn't look to see if the preacher was paying much attention, but he just kind of, well, him and Mom did. But it was interesting. You know, that's not a new thing, I guess. It makes sense to me, but I never knew about it till my mom and dad passed away, or Mom actually first. And that's it. You know, if you're a veteran and you have burial rights, John, you may or may not know or care about this, but if you have burial rights in a national cemetery, which most vets do, as far as I know, your spouse can be buried with you, and they cover the cost of a funeral plot, I guess, and doing the burial. As far as I know, we didn't pay anything for any of that when Dad and Mom passed away. And in my case, Mom got passed away first. And they put her in the grave and put a stone, you know, one of those military style standard issue kind of a stone, and put her name on it, and that she was the wife of Sergeant Roy Don Pruitt. And then when Dad passed away, they flipped the stone around, so her name's still on it, but his name's on the front. And I don't know if they swapped them or if he still, you know, if he. You know, how they left them buried the same way. But yesterday, Judy was cremated, and I think they just dug a small hole and lowered her in on top of Jeff's casket, or not Jeff, Rick's her husband, and he passed away almost 4 years ago. And I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that they buried two people. You know, they used to joke about that being a thing in Louisiana. Because burial space is so scarce, they stack them up down there. And there was a funny guy I would call it a comedic routine, but I'm not sure the people he was on the phone with thought so. But he used to make a joke about that, buying plots, and he was talking about buying funeral plots in New Orleans area. And he asked him, he said, "Well, how about if I pay half price and you put me in with somebody else and we split the cost?" He said, would that work? They weren't going for that at the time, but well, John, that's I like that idea. So am I. I've been trying for years to get put up in a tree. Well, actually, squirrel, I'm going to squirrel you right here, buddy. There's a place nearby here that does natural burials. And they can do several different things. They've got a license to do such. They can bury you in a pine box or wrap you up in, you know, funeral
cloth.
Huh?
Wrap you up in char cloth.
Yeah. And put you in the ground, and they can do that and save a lot of the expense, you know, of a typical funeral and burial, which is not cheap. I'm sure even more so up that way. Wait a minute. They'll bury urns on top of caskets here, but not caskets on top of caskets. Huh? That's interesting, Tina. I guess they'd put two urns in the same hole. I would think they could do that.
They had a deal in Arizona where you could donate your body to the condors.
Oh, that'd be good. Now that I might do. I never thought of that.
Be lowered down on the wall or at least they were working on legislation on that. you could be lowered down onto the wall of the Grand Canyon and the condors could have you.
Chances I don't want to hang around. My wife and kids have to dust me off once in a while. That's a good
up on the mantelpiece.
Hey, Don, good morning. Man, that's some big words for an ex-Tennessean. Felicitations. Did you learn that in Texas or back here? Brenda's always said she wanted to donate her body to the body farm. And
well,
I always
my wife wants to go to some medical hospital or something.
Well, that's about the same difference.
And I don't know. I just want to like fall off my horse somewhere and have a bank cave in over me, or just let the coyotes and ravens have me.
Like Conager. Well, not Conager.
Yeah, I mean, that's what somebody ought to find you your fossilized pelvis sometime.
Yeah. 10 million years from now.
Or see you out there with some arrows in your rib cage and like, why don't he right?
If you're familiar with the movie Dances with Wolves, you'll get that. I reckon why he don't write no more.
Why don't he write?
That's a good point. I always wanted to be put up in a tree and just left, let the birds have me.
Yeah, on a scaffold.
Yeah,
sky burial.
Yeah. I asked Brenda, oh my, the body farm. Well, yeah, you know about the body farm, Don, I assume, but I think the first one, I'm not positive, but I think the first one was here. The guy that started it here is a world famous. What's the term for those guys?
Medical examiner, coroner.
Yeah, medical examiner type, coroner, whatever. But
forensic
scientist. Yes, something like that. And so she's always wanted to go be donated for that. But I don't know if I want her over there, just rotting like that. But then again, that's pretty honorable if you want to put it that way. I think education's an important thing. Education is important, so maybe she can do somebody a good favor. I'd rather feed the birds. I like the condor idea. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if I could get her to go for that or not. I mean,
I don't know if they were working on legislation when I was working for Arizona years and years ago, and I don't recall if they got that passed or not. I think that not too many people were opposed to it.
Oh, Tina, that's interesting, Tina. That's one way to do it.
Oh, but what if you don't have all your parts?
Well, you might not.
I think about stuff like that. There was people that thought about that a long time ago.
Well, they took the part.
You were like mutilated in battle, or they did something like that, so that you couldn't show up whole.
You got a point there. That is true. That's what some groups did. You're right. They cut you up because they didn't want you coming back as a whole.
And what if they were right?
What about you?
But then if the coyotes get you and scatter you across the prairie, that's kind of the same thing. So
but the thing, oh man, I lost myself.
we've scored.
Cutting up. No, I'm on that path. I'm okay with that part. I'm just trying to remember what I was going to say about that. But what about the Egyptians? They took out some organs
and put them in jars.
But sometimes left the heart. I don't know if that's entirely true, but they take the brains out through the nose. I guess the organs were still there, but they weren't inside. Did they get put back in? You reckon they could come back as a?
No say.
Now let's see. They did it different than what you're thinking.
Not an Egyptologist. I know they made awful fancy, like alabaster jars to put all that in, those canopic jars.
Yes, and Don, we were just Mark and I've talked about that recently on the phone. Actually, picking a tree and going out and just sitting down and dying. We've talked about that. We've read those books and kind of know
I've
how
got a
that works.
buffalo jump I'm going to be scattered over.
Cool. Out near you there?
Yeah, just about 20 miles south of the house here. It's one of my favorite places.
Yeah, I've always said I'd be cremated, or if I can't be hung in a tree. But I'm an organ donor. I'd be an organ donor too, and I think it's marked on my card. But some people used to worry about me doing that because I rode motorcycles, and they were afraid that if I had a wreck, they'd just let me die so they could get my intestines or something. Which I don't. I want to believe that's not true, but some people used to say. Well, of course, some people used to call that what do they call them, a donor mobile or a donor cycle, which I never really appreciated much.
I can't remember if I was.
Yeah, I know I was.
I am. I got to look on my driver's license.
Spooky. Hi, buddy. Where you at? Come here. Come here. Get up here. Get up here and say hi. Say hi, Mark.
Howdy, black cat.
Up here, can you see yourself on the screen? Can you see yourself? You don't care, do you? I was a little bit worried about him. He wasn't eating quite. He taking a spell a day or two when he wasn't eating. He wasn't eating his snacks. He usually can't wait to get a snack. Tina's counting squirrels. I just realized she's got up to 3. Patty's laying.
We talked about dead people was one of the topics. So,
yeah, but we might have gotten straight off that a little bit. This is spooky, Tina. This is my little old man. He's also known as the screamer now. He just yells at everybody.
Is the hair coming off his ears?
Yeah, his ears are getting thin. He never was real heavy coated anyway, but his ears are getting a little thin. He's 21 this year, so we think so.
Well, we got a dog that you've never met her on the show, mainly because I rarely can catch her, but she's I think she's working on becoming an 18-year-old dog.
Wow.
And she's about 10 pounds. But if I put her on camera, it'd freak everybody out because she's got one eye that's dead, and she's kind of a gross looking old gal, but she's still running around. She's out there in the yard right now chasing something around.
That's what he does now. He tucks his head in when he just tucks his head in under my arm. Teddy is not a squirrel. He was a starring role. Yeah, he does. That's true. When he wants to. When I got in here, I was a few minutes late because I sat down on the couch and he came over and hopped up on me and he didn't want me to get up. So, oh well. But
so you was running late this morning too?
Oh, not really late. I just came over here. I had said I'd laid down. I had to stretch a little bit. My lower back was hurting, and I've been in the chair for a couple hours. So I went over and just stretched out on the couch. And I set an alarm to make sure I didn't forget what time it was, and I didn't fall asleep or anything. But I was getting ready to get up, and all of a sudden somebody jumps up on my back, and after I caught my breath, I realized it was Tedward. And he decided to come over and lay down with me for a little bit. And he didn't think I should get back up yet. So I had a little bit of a time getting him to jump down off of me. And if he's in the right place, leverage, it's hard for me to pick him up or, get up with him on me. Right, bud? You want to be on the screen? Teddy's new word for the week was the interverse instead of the internet or the interwebs or the what's the other one? He called
Google machine.
Google machine, yeah.
I can do that Google machine.
Google machine. No, Teddy is definitely not a squirrel. I'd like to see him try to come down a tree head first. Talk about ass over tea kettle. Now he would be flipping wrong side out. But he ain't too worried about it right now. He's warm and he's comfortable. He don't care if it snows a foot deep outside. He could care less.
Well, I can't remember if you were with me. You probably were with me. You was talking about squirrels coming down a tree head first. I was leaned up against a hickory tree or something one day, and a gray squirrel was up there, and it came down. It wasn't hunting season time. It was like, spring or something. And they purr just like a cat when they're real close to you. They're interesting sound, anyway, to come out of a squirrel's face. Maybe that's why they get along and raise each other.
Well, maybe. That happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
You see it more with cats raising squirrels, I think, than you do the other way around. But there was I'll never forget, they did a story in the newspaper and the local TV station when I still lived in Johnson City at Mountain Home. They had a squirrel that took some kittens in.
Yeah.
And the female squirrel actually helped raise the kittens. And
you were talking about that last show where they taught them, or they became like,
and the cats would come down head first. They got to where they figured out how to come down head first in a tree, and normally they don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, they go up them real well.
Their feet don't rotate like a squirrel.
No, they don't. And they get up there usually, and that's why you have to call a fireman. They don't like to come down. It's scary coming down backwards, isn't it, bud? He wouldn't.
Well, if you just leave it up there, it'll get down in the dark.
Well, that's true. And he wouldn't know. He's never climbed a tree. He probably wouldn't even know what to do with a tree, would you? He's got the claws for it, though. I'll say that. Well, I said we were going to talk about dead people. I was going to let me see if I can pull up my. I got just a few little things I pulled up about my genealogy stuff, and I just lost them. There they are. And I'm sure I'll mess this up. I always do. And these are just some things. Brenda and I have been talking about this, and or Mark and I were talking about it. And if you're interested in your genealogy, my first best advice is do it and don't wait too long, because I've done that. And I'm going to make you smaller, buddy. I'm going to share the screen here. At least I'm going to try to. I think I got it.
A little bitty. There you go.
I think I got it right. I got it right the first time. Woo! And you can't really see it good. I wish I could make this bigger. I should have blown up another. But this is just one name. This is my grandmother and my grandfather on my wife's Brenda side of the family. And then we've traced it back to Scotland and Wales. Well, Scotland. And I found out, Mark, that three guys, I believe they were Stedmans. I'd have to go back and look because I just found this yesterday, not before last. Actually fought at the big battle. Culloden. Fought at Culloden and were captured. Actually, I think there was more, but there was three that were captured. And instead of one,
that didn't end well for them.
Well, in this case, they escaped.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how that happened because most of them, I think, got killed if they got caught. And but these three apparently did escape, and two of them came to America, and started this line down through here. And one of them stayed over there, but he went and hid out in England somewhere for a while. And I think he made amends. turncoat. But the thing is, I'm not sure how much bragging I'm going to do. They started out on the good side, but they ended up on the bad side because after they came over here, that was in 1745, and by 1776, they were basically Tories and fighting for the redcoats, and one of them was into all kinds of mischief over here apparently. So those relatives, I'm ready to kick back out of the boat. I'm going to saw that limb off the tree.
You can't do that. You gotta
You watch me.
Accept the good with the bad.
Yeah. So we've tracked a bunch of people down in both our families actually that fought in the Revolution on the American side, but these are the first two I found. I can't remember if the third guy actually came over here also he had a job. He eventually got back in the graces of the king in England after 10 years or something. They said he was able to make amends, and I don't know what that meant back then. And he became some kind of a judge or something. He was a lawyer to begin with. A couple of them were studied, apparently had taken whatever they called it back then and studied for the bar at some school in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and became lawyers or barristers or whatever they called them in that century.
So you had that wig you wore at the spider trial.
Was actually kind of prophetic.
Which would have been, they would have been wearing that same kind of deal.
Yeah, it might not have been pink, but yeah.
I doubt if it had been pink.
Might as well been. They're going to fight on the other side.
It's still silly looking.
It's still well, and that all right, go back. In my case, it was meant to be silly looking. I mean,
well, I know that, but theirs is too. It just
they still do that. Yeah, they're still silly looking. You're absolutely correct. And some of them don't even seem to make any take any effort to make them not look silly. Some of them look really stupid when they put them on. I think that might be a little rebellious streak. Well, that makes sense, Tina. Yeah. I guess that does make sense. I always wondered why they called it a bar, but most lawyers I know are pretty good drinkers, so I just figured it was that. I could probably pass a bar exam.
And one of my ancestors in Austria his profession was listed as bay sizer.
As what?
As bay sizer, Beysizer, and that's a barrister as well, I understand.
Oh, really? I never heard that term. That's obviously German.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was going to recommend, I'm going to try to. I was hoping my wife would get on. She's better at this than I am, but I'm going to try to pull up a couple of pictures here in a minute of my.
Well, you did a minute ago.
Well, I'm going to. I've got some more pictures to show, but I mean, I was going to pull up a family tree. I was actually going to go into my genealogy site and pull up a couple of things. But one of the things you want to do is start early collecting pictures, and if there's anything in a newspaper that's collected that might mean something, pick that up. Now, this newspaper here is not necessarily about anything in my family, except that they're talking about the March on Washington back in the 20s when guys like my grandfather, this is my grandfather, Charles Sensabaugh, and he fought in World War I. He was in France. And when they came home, now in his case, I don't think he was in on this, but a lot of the ex-soldiers, the vets that came back from World War I, marched on Washington.
Because they didn't give them their benefits.
Exactly. They weren't getting their benefits, and they moved in there basically and built a town, a shanty town right there in Washington. And eventually the president at that time, I can't remember which one that was. I should remember. I should know that, so I'm ashamed.
He turned the troops loose on
He
them.
turned the active troops turned on the ex-troops, and basically burned the village down or the shanty town down, and they all scattered and went home. I don't know if they ever got any of their money or not. But I found this newspaper in some of our records and did not realize I had it. And it's even got a story about the Lindbergh baby in here.
I see it.
It's a fascinating little shot of time. And Will Rogers has got a column. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's very cool. I'll have to show you. I'll read. It's got baseball scores on it. It's got, there's an article about the Senate handed the relief bill, which is what this was all about. And they were looking for $125,000 to feed the army, which seems like nothing today. It's still a lot for me, but it's not a lot for other people. And it says, and that interesting above the headline there, it says Washington Times, a newspaper owned by William Randolph Hearst, which wasn't much of a swell kind of guy to begin with. On behalf of their readers, that the government give the veterans job or their bonus right now, which is what they were up there for. So it's an interesting.
Look how they use chai socks and that where they got that baseball.
Yeah.
Chai socks. What is that one right there? Bear what?
It says beat the Griffs. And I don't know who the Griffs were. I don't know what town they were with. Griff. Oh, it's the Griff men. Griffmen.
Never heard of them.
Me either. I'll have to try to read that later and see.
There's the Yankees.
They're always in everything. But anyway,
usually preceded by damn.
Yeah. Well, that's if they stay in the South and live. You know what a damn Yankee? You know what damn Yankee is? Yankees are ones that come down here and visit. The damn Yankees are the ones that stay.
Carpetbaggers.
Yeah. So anyway, I highly recommend doing this. And we lost some pictures when some of our family has passed away, and now it's getting, as my family gets thinner, cousins, uncles, aunts, and whatnot. I don't know where some of these have ended up. So we're trying to gather as much stuff as we can. We had more than we seem to have right now, and I'm trying to dig them back up. So I don't know which brother, or if my brother's got some of them or not. But anyway, I highly recommend grabbing things like, hey, Mike Cabal. Good morning, sir. Yeah, newspapers did report the news. They really did. And more, not, although they did have their moments, newspapers weren't always straight up either. But this is pictures from my past. This gentleman right here was a Bible. He's in the Pruitt family tree, and I found another newspaper article, which I don't have right now, about this man. And I asked one time, I said, what is that? Who is that? And what's that about? Well, I found out that he was actually a mechanic from Greenville, Tennessee, who went to Daytona Beach with a guy. I don't know how they got connected. And he was the mechanic on this big car here that you see in that middle picture in the lower middle. And it was called a triplex because it had 3 engines in it. So
that's cool.
And it was they were trying to set a world speed record. This was back before they raced at Salt Flats, and they raced.
That's why I was wondering if he was at Bonneville.
No, this is actually on the beach in Daytona Beach. The sand down there is packed so tight. I don't know why, but it is just hard like concrete almost.
Well, think about how many people you'd have to run over today to get that done.
Well, yeah, a lot.
Look at that. There's no people in that photo.
I know. Well, and they kind of had a race course laid out that went several miles up and down the beach just for this land speed stuff they were doing back then. And the guy that drove the car didn't make it. The owner wanted to make one more run, and the driver didn't want to do it. I don't know why. So this great uncle or cousin of mine said, I'll drive it. So he was the mechanic on the car. He really wasn't the driver. And he hopped in the car and made his first pass and was pretty fast. And he started back down and he wrecked and killed him. And you see, that's the car.
Oh, heck.
It flipped and rolled on the beach and landed up in the dunes. Actually landed up near where there were some people. Trying to remember if I read that some people that were watching got hurt. But anyway, he got killed in that accident. And I never would have known that if I hadn't have been digging through a drawer one day and looking through old pictures and stuff and found that newspaper article that was in the drawer. And then I found these pictures actually on the internet. We didn't have any real pictures of him. And over the years, I've dug around until I found some. But that's just a little bit of my history that, without finding pictures or having the original articles, I would never have known about. So you can't start too early.
Well, and I'm lucky enough that both my parents are still with us.
Yeah.
But I mean, every time I go home, we get the big ginormous box of black and white photos out, and I have them right on the back, just who's in the photo.
That's good. Well, my mom used to do that too.
Because we have tons of photographs that are, it's some old guy horseback, or it's whatever, somebody logging with mules, and I have no idea who any of them are, and they're all relatives, but
cool.
Yeah, I've been, and then having them make copies for me.
That's good too.
And my big fear is that my sister's going to get a hold of them boxes, and I'm never going to see them again.
You need to have your dad lock those up in the safe so you can get them.
But I mean, I had a crash course on Vietnam geography when I was just a little boy, and I know I know those photographs, and there's hundreds and hundreds of slides, and that's the hard part, is that so many of our personal photographs are slides.
Well, yeah, I have that same problem, but I'm gonna you can scan those and put those in a computer. I'm gonna get that done. I'm gonna have some of mine done, and I'm gonna figure out the best way to do that. I used to be able to do it at work years ago.
Do you have a tool? You just drop us. It'd be nice to be able to duplicate them, relatively quickly.
I will keep you posted on the status of that. I'm going to work on that. That's something I've been talking about for a while. It can't be that out of reach now. We could do it at UT when I went back to school, because I turned slides into PowerPoint all the time. Mike, go back to Mike for a minute. These engines, these were, I believe they had 3 Liberty aircraft engines is what these were. So they're V12s.
Wow.
Kind of crude. I mean, you see them there. It looks at the valve train.
3 V12s in one vehicle.
3 V12s in one vehicle. Although the horsepower was probably near as high as you think.
That doesn't have wings.
Yeah, well, that was, they were V12s, but they weren't super powerful back then. They hadn't figured all that out. This was in the 19 teens, but I can't remember the exact year. And but these were some of the biggest engines available for something like this. Ships had bigger engines, but that was different. And but they did a lot of this with 2 engines, and some people call that a duplex back then. He put 3 in this one. The guy that owned it put 3 in this one. And my ancestor helped him build it. And
so what was the engine used for originally? That V12?
It was used in actually airplanes.
Oh, it was an aircraft
engine. It was an aircraft engine. Yeah, I don't know which ones these came out of specifically, but like some of the old American Jennies, I can't remember who made Jennies, and a few other ones had V12s in them, but I don't know if they were as large as these. These were pretty big engines for the time, displacement wise. A lot of CCs or cubic inches. And
it looks like something you'd have put in your big farm tractor, like in the Great Plains or something.
Kind of does. And but this was, This was still really pretty early in internal combustion engines. The valve, what I always found fascinating about these was the valve train is exposed. And, we have valve covers on our car. So when you open the hood, you can see it better on old cars, but even today, there's valves and camshafts and stuff in the top of the engine covered up by a cover. And this was what's exposed. A lot of this is exposed. So they had to grease and lube them all after they used them every time.
In the sand.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh my God.
I can't imagine how bad the sand was on these kind of motors. They had to tear them down and rebuild them every time they used them.
Come here, buddy.
But they used to have they had these kind of engines were what they considered total loss oil systems, because you'd oil them up and fill them up before you did anything, like if an airplane would go on a mail run. You knew you had to put oil in it when you got to the next place, because it leaked it out constantly. And there was actually on airplanes, there was actually an issue where this leakage of oil and fuel and everything else that kind of leaked out of these things got in the pilot's clothing and actually made some sick that way. I wonder if I can put one in my car so I can go to the grocery store faster. Well, you can try, Mike. Your car, if you have a car today, you might, Tina, we'll call it 4. Yeah, there was. You got the dog, or did you put him back down?
He gone now. He stinks. He's been out rolling in horse crap.
Oh no, Boudreaux.
Well, that's what they do.
I know, but
remember that Far Side cartoon where the dog comes to the door with the bouquet of flowers, and the gal, the female dog answers the door and she says something, oh, flowers or something, and man, do you stink.
Hey, you got a point there. Uh-oh, Carol. You don't need to. Carol, you're not helping me.
She's lost track of the squirrel count.
And these are pictures. These are family pictures. That's a picture of my mom. That's my mom's high school picture on the left. So, I've got that kind of stuff, and I'm not sure if these are pearls. That's probably an outfit they gave them to put on at the school. They used to do that. They used to dress up for photographs. And this is one of my spouse's pictures in high school, on the upper side. And at the bottom is my daughter and son-in-law getting married at the zoo. If you look in fact, that's both my son-in-laws, the first two standing there. And then the one at the very end is Jennifer's boss. If you look real close in this lower side or left side, there's a big mastodon relative or mammoth or whatever they're related to. That's an
both.
Both, yeah.
Both.
A big old elephant there. So you got to hang on.
Proboscidean. He's a proboscidean.
Yeah, one of those things with a big nose. And trips. You go on trips, take pictures of trips. This is Phil and I made this trip back in 2008, I think, or 2006. I can't remember, but I just, that blue motorcycle was one of my favorite motorcycles, and Phil's is the red one. And that lookout is Lover's Leap, Virginia.
Look at that country.
Yep. Kind of like your country, but green.
Yeah, mine doesn't have any trees on it.
Yours would be brown.
It's just it's sagebrush green colored.
Well, yeah, it'd be different.
Sometimes a year, and sometimes a year it's just brown. Like
Well, this was in August apparently, because I dated my pictures back then, so I remember it was kind of warm that trip, but that was a good trip. So hang on to stuff like that if you're do your genealogy. And these are my first car. Well, yeah. And my first motorcycle, and this isn't the real airplane, but this first airplane I ever flew in was one like that. It's called an Aero Coupe. She is a beautiful bride, Tina and Carol, and don't you ever think I said otherwise? But she ain't listening, so.
Is that down there on the Chucky? That's not on the Chucky.
No, the airplane. No, I don't know where that's at.
That's too flat.
Yeah, I just used that as an example. That looks like Florida or something. No, it's not Florida. I see a hill in the background. Right here, there's something taller than the rest of it. So that's how I knew I wasn't in Tennessee anymore. But my first car was a Triumph TR4. This color. Again, these aren't. Again, my pictures aren't all available, and this is the first motorcycle I had look just like this.
So that's funny. That's funny, Tim, because remember my little red pickup?
Yeah,
it was that exact color.
Yep.
And then when Dad got home from Vietnam, he bought a Carmen Ghia, and it was that color.
Really?
And then he bought, right after he got rid of that little car, which wasn't no good for nothing except running around in, he bought a Sanford & Son truck, and it was that color. That was a popular color back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, Mike's wondering if you're going to give that dog a bath today. I think he's talking about Boudreaux.
No, he ain't going to get no bath. He'll go back outside in 5 minutes, and he'll be right back in it.
That's true. Yeah, you know, your truck here a while back, Nissan was running a commercial ad for their cars, or their history, actually.
I saw that.
And they had a picture of your truck in there.
I saw that.
I told Brenda, I said, look. I said, that's Mark's truck. She said, what truck? And I said, oh, you remember? And she didn't really remember.
I can't remember where I saw that commercial, but I saw that. They were going through the whole history of their trucks.
Yeah.
Of course, and that was one of the very first ones.
Yes, it was. It was one of the very first pickups they ever made. Of course, it was branded as a Datsun back then. So,
yeah,
I've heard rumors that they're going back to Datsun on some things. I don't know if that's true. I guess that's all I put in there for right now.
But, that little pickup truck, when it got done being used, because it went through my hands and it went through my cousin's hands. And then it got given to a local coon hunter.
Did it really?
Just as a kind of running around the woods vehicle kind of a deal. And it had 435,000 miles on it when it was done.
Wow. How many did it have on it when you picked it up? It had
probably, I don't know, 180 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was it had that little Tecumseh lawnmower engine in it anyway, the little 4-cylinder. You could have pulled that engine with your hands.
Well, yeah, they were pretty small.
But it did me well. So
yeah, you drove that for several years.
Yeah, a lot of time. My wife is asking me an important question. Do you want me to bring it? Yes, I would love a cup.
Coffee?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Coffee.
Oh, okay. That'd work too. Let me see if
I can get a new cup.
Let me see if I can pull up a few interesting tidbits here. Let me see. Can I open that? Oh, wait a minute. I know what I can do.
Oh, Tim will love that cup.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, darling. There you go. Let's see if we can read this thing, and if I can figure out how to. Can you read that?
I can't read enough to see what it says. It's glare. It's got a little bit of glare on it. The colors are not real.
May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back.
The Irish prayer, or
May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may the Lord hold you in the palm of his hand. The Irish blessing.
The Irish blessing.
And then it's got a nice Celtic cross, or
yeah, a knot or whatever.
I'm just not too smart. I can't figure out how to.
Well, you had it pretty close there.
Show stuff.
You had it where I could see the writing. I just couldn't read it.
Wow, that's hot.
I couldn't read it because of the contrast or lack thereof. I'm gonna try to do this again. I'm just gonna show you. This is just one branch too of our family stuff. It's if you ever get into this kind of, I know Mark's done a bunch of work. I don't know how you did yours.
It's not a stick. That's good. It's not a stick.
Not a stick. Well, that's handy if it's not a stick. This is part of
I did mine on various ways, looking at newspapers and deeds and what you could find about like baptisms and things like that, and then Ancestry.com.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but
well,
you can. They're handy.
Yeah, they've got a lot of stuff. And Brenda's got access to some military records too here. And of course, this is all.
And that's a real good source if you can get your hands on them.
Yeah, it's some of that stuff's hard to get. Like I'm still trying to. I got to get back. I haven't actually been on it in the last few days, but I'm still trying to get a hold of some of the things that I've been doing. But here's, for example, from here on this particular branch of my mother's family, if you go all the way up from. This is her mother, Georgia, no, wait a minute. Here, yeah, this is my grandmother, Georgia Boyer Sensabaugh, and my grandfather was Charles O. Sensabaugh, and of course that led to my mother. And I don't know why she's not on this chart right now, but if you go back from there, you get up to about, right in here, if you can see my hand. And from here back, well, no, wait a minute. At least from here back is all in, most of these folks are Scottish. And you get up here to around this one, Lady Douglas. I believe this is her. I've got the 7th Earl of Angus. So maybe cool. Maybe Angus. Maybe I should be getting royalties from all the Angus steaks or something.
At least the certified ones.
Yeah, at least the certified ones. And then what's cool about Ancestry or this kind of a chart is you can go into here and there's David Douglas, 7th Earl of Angus, and he was born in Kinross Shire, Scotland. Some of their names you really get me confused. And he died in Cockburn's Path. How long did it take them to figure out some of these names? Oh, there's a Cockburn on that path there. Let's call that. And it's Berwickshire, Scotland. And if you look at that, no, he didn't live too long. I've got a couple of these relatives that live to be. I have one relative in here that's listed birth and death records that we found in census form. She was 115 years old. 115.
That's crazy.
And people think
that might be a record.
People think they didn't live long back then, but some people did.
Well, we've talked about that. That's
but did we talk about it in here? Did we talk about it on the phone? Because I don't remember.
Probably on the phone, but I mean, it's it.
Here's other neat things you can find here. If you've ever thought about doing this, and maybe you guys have done it, but if you haven't, you pull up these little leaf things, and those are other possible links or connections, and that might be related to David Angus Douglas. And here we go. We got a whole list of either people.
It was the same exact site, but I didn't get cool deals like this.
Well, it's changed. They've added stuff to it. I don't know when you were in it last, but
and I had a hard time, so I did it for my dad's side of the family, and ran it to ground as far back as I could run it, clear back into some cases of 1400s.
Yeah,
and then, but my mom's family, mom's dad was a Welshman. First generation born in the States. And I found that, I had a certain plan, I guess, with Ancestry, and I could run his family back to basically when they got off the boat in the States. But then to get information on them in Wales, I had to buy a different plan.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of that's opened up a little bit more now, and we do pay a little bit every year to get some of this stuff. And there are things you're right, that I can't get, not free anyway. But there are sources if you can trace this stuff back. That's a neat thing about at least about parts of Europe is they kept such good records of things. And say hi. I don't know if Carol's in there or not, but if she is, say hi. She was going to leave for a minute, but she was going to come back.
Well, you come from royalty folks. Most of my people were not.
Well, this is just new. We just found this within the last week or two. And I don't know how royal it is. Earl of Angus might have just been the bull's butt for all I know.
But you got Lady Margaret.
Yeah. And I was thinking she was the one that would be 115, but she's no, she is that 1550 to 1665.
That's amazing.
It is unbelievable. I mean, that might be their daughter, but anyway, whoever it is lived to be 115 years old.
That's amazing.
Maybe that's Scotch. Maybe she drank a lot of Scotch. That would explain it. She was well preserved.
Well preserved, yeah.
And you have things like a life story. I think this is pretty cool because you can read some pretty good, and you can add to this. You can find information and add to it.
And they're giving you a map and everything. That's cool.
Where she was, I think, born in one spot and died in the other spot is what this is representing. And,
right on the edge of the Highlands.
Yeah.
Just as you're going up to, all the big locks.
And also according to this, I don't know if he was one of them or not. Apparently some of my Scottish relatives went to Wales to live. So I've got Welsh in there, and Pruitt, I always assumed was probably English. Was probably more British or English than anything else, but turns out it's a Welsh derivative too. So yay for that. I'd rather be Welsh than just pure English. I can't take that. So, and I'm not sure which one of these bunches moved to Ireland, or maybe they started there and came back to Scotland. I'm not sure which, but anyway,
that was common.
Yeah, it was.
There was lots of moving back and forth, and
so I had just now started looking into the Lady Margaret of what and Earl of what does that mean? What is the Earl of Angus? What does that really get me, or what is that? And I do know there was
like Bugs Bunny, sirloin of beef, and cirrhosis of liver.
Was that Bugs Bunny, or was that
was Bugs Bunny?
Disney did one too where Goofy was a knight. Actually, Goofy was a squire who ended up in the knight's armor because the knight was afraid to go joust, and they had people like that too, the Duke of Beef Wellington and that kind of stuff. But so that, the Earl of Angus might very well be their sirloin of beef for all I know. But that's pretty cool. It is kind of interesting. And it was through these records that Brenda showed me how to go to that part where it showed the about them being captured at the battle. And but I won't be able to find that right now because she's not down here to help me.
Because they were Jacobites.
Because they were Jacobites. They were fighting on the Jacobite or Jacobite side. And
for Bonnie Prince Charlie.
For Bonnie Prince Charlie, but they got caught, or 3 of them did.
Well, lots of them got
Well, lots of lots. Well, they all did basically. I mean, they
most
all
of them got dead. But then
here's another baronet that's supposedly related. And he's Aberdeenshire, Scotland. He died in Edmonton. Let's see if he's one of the ones. Sir James Skeen. So yeah, maybe I do. I told Brenda, I said, we might need to dig into this. There might be a castle over there waiting. Now there's a name you don't see every day.
No.
Euphemie Skeen. I guess that's how you'd pronounce that, or Euphemie.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Me either. There's another lady, Sarah Inglis. Oh, you know what? Inglis might be the ones that were captured. Now that I think about it, Brenda also showed me some really cool books, and I may have tried to download those. We were trying to figure out if we could print those on a disc to just keep them so she could show them to like her mom or something, because out of her family records also, and or a bunch of them. And we found they've got photocopies of birth and death records and marriage records from some of the churches over there. So they were written by a particular, it usually had a name in the front of the book, a right reverend somebody. In this case, most of them are the Anglican Church of England, or the Church of England. And but they had this, it was interesting because they'd start out a page and say it was 1540. And on one side of the book, the ledger, that's probably a better way to put it, they'd have births. And on the right-hand side, they would have deaths. And in the back, actually, they just said burials. They didn't say deaths. They said burials. So I guess that was probably
people. You assumed they were dead.
Well, yeah, we assume it. But I mean, I figured they just used that word terminology. And they were buried in, and I'm assuming that meant they were probably buried in that cemetery, that church's cemetery. And which I thought was kind of interesting too, the way they showed that. But then in the back of the book, they would have marriages listed. I mean, it was divided up, and there were, we saw several books over a couple of 100 years that were basically all done the same way. So they had a system to it.
Yep.
And they kept pretty good records.
And I think it's pretty common that system is.
Well, it probably is.
Was used all throughout Europe. Germany and Austria did kind of the same thing. If you can get your hands on, those documents.
Yeah, well, I've looked at some. I don't know how to get there, but then I can get on down here. Sir James Stedman Sr. here died in Berkeley, West Virginia. So he came over here in 1708. He was born in 1708, and sometime after that he came over here and he died in 1782. Now, Berkeley in 1782 was probably a pretty wild place. Technically, wasn't even West Virginia back then.
Yeah, it would have been just after the war, or just like toward the end of the war.
Yeah, right when they were trying to still work out the treaty and all that. They could have been fighting on the frontier.
Yeah, definitely.
And it doesn't say, I don't know how he died. Let me see if it has a profile.
And he was a sir.
Well, he was when he left Scotland anyway.
Yeah.
Now his father, I believe, I'd track it back here. Looks like his father was Captain Robert Stedman, and he wasn't a military captain. I guess he could have been, but he had his own ships, and he was a trader, Trader. And he sailed out of on the east coast of Scotland out and traded in the Mediterranean and Africa, I believe. Oh, Lord, I hope he wasn't a slave trader. Just thought of that. But anyway, this is his son. Let me see if it tells when he came over here. All of his brothers and sisters are listed. He got married in England, and he died in Berkeley. So he came over to the Americas between 1770 and 82. I bet he got married. I bet they married and then came straight over. That they did that sometimes. Sometimes that was a woman's way out to get out for whatever reason. And they would marry. She would marry, and then off they'd go. He might even have been looking for a wife to bring with him. You never know. She died in Frederick County, Virginia. Wow, she had a lot of kids too. That was another thing I've discovered. If they lived, some of them didn't live very long, but the ones that did, they had a lot of kids. She had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sons. And Sir James died in 82. We knew that one. And her son James died in 95. And another son died in 1800. Wow, she outlived a bunch of them. The heights. I got to look up the heights. I'd like to know where that's at. Anyway, I know this is probably boring people to tears, but it's I find it fascinating. Actually, Brenda gets on me all the time about it because I don't do enough of it, and I should, because it's history, and I love history. And you'd think I'd be all over that, and I'm getting more and more into it. I've been into it for a long time, but I've been into the telling the stories part and trying to write down notes and things. And she's been taking care of the clerical-ish parts of it, and it's really made she's found a lot of things, and that's just a tidbit of my ancestry in that regard. If I go to my Pruitt side of my family, it spreads out real quick, and it's got a lot of Irish folks here. My great grandfather came over in 1853, I believe. So right at the end of the potato famine, and we can track him back some. I didn't even pull that side up today, and then that's not counting all the branches that can come off that. And then on her side, she's tracked some of her folks back to some of her she's having a little bit of trouble finding, and some of them she's tracked back to Scotland, but I don't have names right now for that. I need to look at her side of the tree, which I could pull open there and plug them in. And if you still got an Ancestry account, Mark, and I probably could even do it without it, you can open it and look at it. I could send you the link to it, and you could open mine and look at mine. I could open yours, look at yours. It's interesting. It's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, so I found it fascinating. And you find all kind of snakes and stuff hiding under boards, and
if they're not all, as you and I both know, all snakes ain't bad. So it's fun. Yeah. In fact, snakes are fun in general to some of us.
Yeah, so, and I got some of the. It was interesting to me, like, all my people were kind of ended up in Northeast Kentucky. And
right.
It's kind of interesting that who begat who and who married who and who got, like, they lost a spouse and they married somebody else. And that person is a cousin. And it was just like, it was interesting to kind of track the tree down, and it amazed me how many times that in my family, and it was probably true in all families, but like you named your kid after your brother or whatever, and then he named his kid after you, and it went back and forth, and names went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and sometimes you named your kid after, well, I was telling you that, like, my great grand. We're off on a snake chase.
And that didn't count, Tina. But I didn't go deep enough into that to be considered a true squirrel chase.
I had a relative, my great grandpa's his first and middle name was Francis Marion, and
Which is
Zorns, and he was named after his uncle, who was named after the swamp fox. And so, I mean, it's, you find that kind of cool stuff out too.
So, Tina, do you remember the swamp fox that Disney did? Disney did a series about the swamp fox. You can call that a squirrel if you want to, but it.
We're talking about dead people.
Yeah, we're still talking about dead people. That's right. Swamp fox was Francis Marion in South Carolina during the Revolutionary War. He was a true character, and there's a lot of. Well, after that time period, there was a lot of people named after Francis Marion in a lot of counties and a lot of states. This state has Marion counties, and Virginia has, and I think there's probably Francis counties too, for that matter. And I've got the Swamp Fox on DVD. I don't know if they did the full. I always wondered if there was one or two more that maybe I didn't get, because it seems like they didn't finish it. So I don't know if they did or not.
Well, and they looked that Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot. They very, very loosely based that character off of Francis Marion, and they took
a lot of liberties,
unbelievable liberties with that story. But anyway, that's who his character was supposed to be based off of.
That's a very good question, Carol. Tina, do you have the definitive answer for that? Carol, that's a very good question. I'd like to mark that on my book as points for Carol today, definitely, for picking up on that. Come on, admit it. You love chasing squirrels. It's fun. And honestly, when you're chasing squirrels here, you don't get the crick in your neck like you do when you're out in the woods hunting them like this.
And that's a whole term. That's a term right there that most people don't know. It's squirrel hunter neck.
Squirrel hunter neck. That's right. And that's a real thing. Well, if Tina is not sure, I'm sure, certainly not sure.
That's a malady that's common to,
and you can count this one, Tina.
Folks in Appalachia, squirrel hunter neck.
Neck.
It's like tennis elbow, but different.
You come out of the woods like this, and people know, or some people will say, "Why are you looking up like that?" And it's kind of like, because I can't drop my neck down anymore.
And some archaeologist is going to find your spine and like, well, that guy obviously did X, Y, and Z, and they have no idea that it was squirrel hunter neck. Reckon how many
skeletons they have to find with that kind of damage before they figure out these guys were squirrel hunters. Or were we? We were talking about something else a little bit more seriously.
Francis Marion.
Oh, we were talking about how names run down through families. And you're right. There's just like that one I just showed you. There's James Stedman, and after James, there's all kinds of Jameses on down the list.
We had, so in my family, the two brothers that came, well, their dad brought them over from Austria, and their names were Martin and Andrew, the two brothers. And those two names still happen in my family, and they just kind of flop back and forth. And it's like, well, who do you, when you're talking about one of them, it's like, which one do you mean? You mean, the original two or the eight?
Did you find him, John? John's dog got loose. But he's back, so I'm hoping that means he's got the dog back too. Yeah, I know. It gets confusing till you figure out which John and which Paul, right. Ringo and the other Paul or whatever Paul they're talking about, because it's They did that. I mean, and their last names also would come into play if a daughter got married and down her line she had a son. It wasn't too uncommon to bring her maiden name back into their name,
Right,
and keep it going that way also. So I should have named my daughters Jennifer Pruitt or something. Wait a minute, that don't work. Yeah, in my case.
John says dog got back before he did.
I hate when that happens.
But it's a common occurrence.
Yes, it is. Which one? Oh, the name thing. I thought you meant chasing the dog.
No, I meant chasing the dog.
Yeah. No, that's a common occurrence too.
That they beat you home.
And I'll tell you something. It is, when you look through this kind of stuff, in most cases, you really can see how their role in a lot of this was so secondary. I mean, they are really not counted the same way at that time. I mean, I don't know if anybody else saw the Benjamin Franklin thing the other day, but they were discussing how the compromises which is a topic I want to discuss more. But, one of the compromises they made to get the Constitution passed was how they were going to count people in order to determine the number of representatives in a given state. And the South wouldn't sign up unless they were allowed to count part of their slave population. Now, they weren't giving them any rights, and they couldn't vote, and they didn't have a say in nothing, but they wanted to count them. So they counted them as like 2/3. So it took how many, 3 or 4 slaves to become one, whatever 2/3 is, 2/3, 4/6, 3, I guess. And, but women didn't count at all. Their own wives or daughters didn't count. They didn't give them a count. They still didn't count. And
7 squirrel chases and 2
dogs.
And one snake under a board.
And one snake under a board. Teddy says he doesn't know why anybody chased a dog anyway. Of course, he doesn't understand why you chase much of anything if you've got a nice cushy chair to lay in. Right, buddy? Yeah. He said, yeah, you just couldn't hear him. But it's that whole, and you can go back. It's another pit but a hole you can go down a tunnel of that kind of stuff and go from book to book to book that's written. And I'm always jealous if you ever see the show Finding Your Roots on PBS. Those folks are usually celebrities or something, people know, and they have a group of genealogists that track down their life stories, basically. But you see them go back to Europe and go to Italy or someplace where they show it on film, and they're looking through records. And they're finding all these records of censuses and marriage records and birth records. And I mean, depending on who you are or where your people came from, you can trace that stuff a long way back. We found out that, and I'd be surprised if you don't have some of this because so many of your people from Central Europe. But like Brenda's got Anasazi Jew, or not Anasazi. Is it Anasazi?
No, those are natives.
Okay, I know somebody here knows this answer.
Akhenaten,
something like that. Anyway, I mean, that's, if you were from Central Europe, there's a good chance you got some of that in your bloodline. So now, Tina, they did want some counted because they wanted, the North had a higher population of people in general than the South did. South was agrarian. There weren't nearly as many, for lack of a better words, white people that lived down there as there were in the North. because they weren't based around big cities. They were based in farms and plantations and that. And if you just counted those people, landowners, basically, there weren't near as many of them as there were in the North. So they thought the North would get more representatives than they would, and they thought that was unfair. So they came up with the idea of counting the 2/3 or 1/3 or how they did it. I think it's 2/3 or something. But it was an odd thing, and they to do that, in order to get those numbers, they counted slaves. And like I said, the slaves didn't get anything for that other than they got to be counted. I'm not sure how anybody ever really saw that as fair or a good thing, but that's how it worked. Hey, Mike, see you later, buddy. Next week, I hope to have a new flag, Mike. We'll see. It should be here by then. Mike has sent me a new flag.
You're going to get a maple leaf, aren't you?
I might be. I'm not saying, but I don't know if I've got any kin from up there. But I'm gonna, in Mike's honor, if he sends it, if I get it, I will next week. I'm gonna fly it.
I have a couple cousins in Alberta. And one of them, we actually traced him a bit because his name is the same as Dad's name, exactly.
Oh, Dad, I know, but
Dad got a letter from him, from Larry L. Zorns to Larry L. Zorns.
Yeah.
And he's one of those snake under a board kind of a deal. His original ancestor that moved to Canada moved there because he was stealing horses in Montana.
Yeah. He had to get out of the country.
And that's documented. He was going to get hung if they could catch him, and he made it to Canada, and that's where he lived the rest of his life.
Interesting. That's what I keep waiting to find, is the horse thief or something. I'm sure there's one in there somewhere. And I found some that at the time the English would have thought were just as bad, those Jacobites. I'm really surprised they survived long enough to escape, because a lot of those guys were killed on sight. And
right.
During those battles, they basically just went through and hacked them up. John, that is a very good reason to go to Canada. You're absolutely correct. They were trying to put riffraffs and voting, so they only wanted land. That is true, Tina, because that was another question. They said, I love the commercial. Who did that commercial? There was a Super Bowl commercial that had "Don't Be Like Larry." I can't remember that guy's name either. He's an actor, and the guy comes up to him who invented the wheel, and this Larry guy says, that'll never catch on. And things like they're building the pyramids and they're dragging big huge stones, and he comes up with the wheel, and this Larry guy says, that'll never catch on. He said, that's not any good. And they get down to I got to read the note again now. I forgot what I was getting ready to say.
Larry David.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember why I was going. Oh, he was in the Constitutional Convention, and they're trying to figure out who gets to vote and who don't get to vote and all that. And he says, "You mean even the stupid people get to vote?" And somebody like Thomas Jefferson says, "Well, yes." He said, "Well, that's stupid." And then they throw him out of the Continental Congress in this commercial, which is pretty funny. He knocks on the window and Ben Franklin won't let him in. He says, "I want my cane. Just throw me my cane. It was expensive." Mentioned Detroit and you show up. Boy, man, my Belgian grandfather lived in Canada before he came to Detroit. I don't know if I have any relatives there. Oh, you probably do, Carol. I'm sure that. Hey, Dave, I didn't see you there, buddy. Welcome in. I'm sure if they came from there, then you've still got. I mean, those roots go deep over there usually, and so I'm sure they do. You know what part of Belgium he came from? And when you said he came to Detroit, what year was that? I mean, was that all before the industrial age, or was it during that time period? They were chasing squirrels and dead people. And I can't remember what else we might track, but squirrels and dead people are the primary targets around here usually. I need to get a squirrel, take it on the Tina. That's what I need. I've got to look for that. I need to get me a little squirrel to sit on my shoulder. I just thought of that. I need to write that down.
It'd be more fun to see a live one sitting on your shoulder.
Well, I was just sitting there thinking there's a nest right out there. If I could get out there and shinny that tree, I might could pull one out of there.
And raise you up a squirrel pup.
Raise me up a squirrel pup, yeah.
They make great pets if they don't bite you.
Well, they would, yeah. I'm sure they'll bite me at least once. I mean, squirrels do bite, but once you get them tamed down some, they might be okay. There's some really great squirrel videos on YouTube. Yeah, squirrels, buddy. We chase squirrels. That's one of our, on my business card, it says squirrel chaser extraordinaire, or maybe extraordinaire might be carrying it a little too far.
John got to go to Belgium.
Well, John lived in Europe. In fact, I believe John might have been born in France. 1920. That's what I wondered, if he came to Detroit to work in the car business. That's interesting. And go ahead.
My grandfather didn't enjoy his time in Belgium at all. He got to go on a all expense paid trip to Mühlberg Stalag number 4B after that little visit.
Yeah, my uncle spent a little time in the winter over there. I believe it was 1944 January in Belgium, in the Argonne Forest, or I think it was Argonne.
December of 44.
Well, December and January, yeah.
Yeah.
But mostly December, you're right.
Grandpa,
the Battle of the Bulge.
Got to take a trip to, he got to stay there till the 18th of December, and then he got to go to Eastern Germany in a rail
camp.
Yep.
And my grandfather, he got an all expense paid trip to France in 1917 or 18. He got to go over and visit. Fortunately, he got to come home. A lot of them didn't.
Yeah.
So, John, how much of that life experience do you remember? I mean, were you old enough to appreciate things and remember things? I mean, I'll have to admit, I don't really want to go there, live there, but sometimes I would love to go to Europe and see some of the stuff. I mean, they've got, for somebody that likes history, they got a lot more than we got. Argonne. Is that me or you?
That's me. Sorry about that.
Argonne is by Verdun. Been there as well. Verdun was a hell of a World War I battlefield. Many men, women, and horses lost their lives. Yes, they did. Verdun was, well, the whole area was a bloodbath, to be honest. Dave says he has a boring life. He was just born in a hospital. Well, so was I. And my dad was born in the barn, so everybody in his family said, and I have to assume that's true. I can't say my mother or grandmother ever denied that.
I was born in a Quonset hut.
Were you really?
Yeah, the base hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Millington Naval Air Station was a Quonset hut.
Well, my wife was born in the Naval Hospital in La Jolla near San Diego, but I think it was a regular building. I'm not positive about that.
Mom kept the bill and gave it to me here that last trip we took. I cost $10.96.
How much?
$10.96.
Well, you were cheaper than Brenda. She's got a copy of her birth records and it was like $17, I think, when she
I was a Marines kid, so we were cheaper.
Yeah, I guess so. She was Navy brat, so I guess that counted more. She's technically a native Californian, but I don't think she's a little different. She ain't like most of them out there now. Let's see if I missed anything else. Dave's talking about I'm going to assume when you say, John, you said yes, France. I'm going to assume you meant you remembered that. Some of that. I wasn't sure how long you lived over there. Like Brenda left California when she was 2 something. And so she doesn't remember a lot of that or the trip back home, but a lot of her other folks were there. John was born on, cool, I can't say that correctly.
Air Force Base.
There in A. I don't know. I'm not one. I'll butcher it if I try to say it because my Tennessee would say Rosary and Hay or something, and I'm pretty sure that's not right. I am smart enough to know I can't say it right. That counts. I was just born in a local county hospital. Oh, Tina's been to Verdun. Oh, she was little. That's right, Tina. You were born over there too, weren't you? I forgot about that. Seems like I've heard you and John discuss that before. So that, if anybody ever tracks your family history down, they're going to wonder about how in the world did you get from there here to there and back again. 61. Oh, you were just a year old. Yeah, you probably don't remember much. I have one or two things that I think I remember when I was under 5. One of those was on a ferry boat in the Chesapeake Bay area. Because Mom had one of her best friends growing up lived in Virginia Beach. And we took a ferry or something across the water up there. And I just remember, and I probably remember it because of pictures.
Over to Chincoteague.
I don't know if we did or not. I'm not sure.
Well, there's a ferry or there's a bridge
that
you can drive from Virginia Beach.
Well, remember, this was in 1960-ish.
Yeah, so but I mean, that ferry, they ran ferries from
it could have been
Beach over to Chincoteague. And
I just don't know if that's where, I don't know where they were going. I just remember we did it. And like I said, I probably remember that because there was pictures of me standing there on the deck, all bundled up in a hat and coat and everything, because apparently it was cool. It looked gloomy. Hi, Ian. Welcome. And my dad's main base was in Chamont. Is that correct? Chamont. They don't say that the way we do. They don't put the T on it, I don't think. What's the Le Mans? Like Le Mans is Le Mans or something like that. Anyway, they didn't have a T in it anyway. But I remember that, and then I remember living in a stone house over near Unicoi, Mark. My dad was working either in Irwin or back and forth between Irwin and Johnson City, and we lived kind of in the middle there at Unicoi, and it was a house by a creek. I do remember that. And it was built out of those round river rocks. There used to be a lot of houses in that area right around there that were built that way. Instead of bricks, they were built out of those river rocks, which is kind of interesting, I suppose. But because a lot of them are kind of rounded, but they do tend to be flat on the top and the bottom. Or you can find enough that are anyway. And I bet back in those days, people just went down and picked them up on their own out of the creek and just took them back to the house. That's a squirrel, Tina. You can call that 8.
Cemented them together.
It was 2 such stones that smashed my finger in the gut till the guts came out. Popped out of the end.
Like a hot dog in a microwave.
I'm sure I've talked about that before, so I won't go there. I won't chase that one. My first stitches, I will say that, and then I'll stop. Not the last, but the first. Oh, well, speaking of that, 2 bits of news. One is I got my PET scan done Monday, and they scanned my whole body, I guess, for cancer signs of some sort, and they found nothing, so that is a good thing. I got a good score on that test. I was sure glad I studied. And I don't have all the official results back, but I know that there's nothing going on. So I got that much information. I talked the nurse out of that much. So that was a good thing. And then the other thing I was going to show you was this apron I got that my wife made me, and I got it on today. And this was a shop apron, and I kind of had helped design it. But it's got pockets up here. Of course, it had to have good pockets, you know. And she embroidered it for me. I'll get a little closer. There's a pair of riding boots and a helmet, if I can figure out which fingers to use. And then I'll see if I can lift the bottom up. I may have to untie it because there's a picture down here. Not picture, but an embroidery of
your motorcycle.
Of my blue motorcycle. It's not exactly the same model, but it looks so much like it you can't hardly tell it apart. So that was really cool. It's been up there for a while. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Carol. And John. Yeah, it was good news for me, too. I was one surprised they called, and that made me worry about it a little bit because I thought, oh, crap, what have they found now? Because I thought, well, she's seen something and thought about it and decided I need to go get that checked. But fortunately, it came back good. Negative, I guess is the right word. Or at least, yes, it is a very nice apron, Carol. And like I said, it's got a big pocket down here. It's actually got a hammer loop on one side. I asked for that too. And double pockets up here, which are staggered a little bit. I'm going to see how that'll work. And it's a little bit wide in the top, so we creased it. We may have to trim it down just a little bit more. And someday I hope to get back out in the shop and it get covered in grease. This is my shop apron, and I'm going to make another one for when I'm doing other work. So we'll see. Thank you, Dave. And what else did I have on my list of goodies? Dead animals, I suppose, and dead animals are something we haven't chased much. But
a little bit,
but I'm gonna chase. I guess I'm gonna chase a squirrel, Tina. How many people out there? There's not many people out here. So if any of you guys ever seen the show called The Repair Shop, and I sent you some links to that last night, Marcus.
Yeah,
email.
I haven't been on the email yet, but
but there's a whole bunch about Susie, and Susie's the one that does the leather work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're whole clips or if they're just some clips about some of the stuff she's doing, but she does show some things. And I had to ask you a question about that. She had something called
lining leather. You were talking.
No, yeah, she had something else called a leather consolidator, maybe. That doesn't sound right. Let me see. Let me pull up the name of it. It was to help restore old leather. I mean, obviously, it can't fix it all.
Like a conditioner?
Well, she didn't call it a conditioner, though.
Yeah, but she's from England.
Well, she has conditioner. She calls some things conditioner. It might be, yeah. I guess I shouldn't say it's not, because that might be.
They put a whole nother I in aluminium.
True.
It's true. Not actually in the word.
Wrong one. Wrong link. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Yeah, consolidating gel is what she called it.
Consolidating gel.
And she put it on.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me either. She's from England. Ian thought that was funny. Hey, Rhonda, good morning.
They say controversies and things like that. They got a whole different language.
They make English sound entirely different.
You'd think they could learn English, but
you'd think they would know how to speak it since they're the ones that supposedly created it. but they sure do talk it funny. She had let me think what she was rebuilding.
Says the boy from East Tennessee.
Yeah. She was putting this on a gun case. This guy had a tooled leather gun. They called it a gun slip, but it was a shotgun case. And it looked kind of like saddle work, to be honest, the carvings and stuff.
Yeah.
And she rubbed that into it, and she called that, I think that's what she was working on. I watched her do a couple of things. One, some of it was pretty tatty. The gun case might not have been, it might have just been smushed and had a lot of stuff piled on it. It was flat. And anyway, she put this stuff on the back of it and let it soak in. And I got the impression that it might have helped. I know this isn't the right word, but fluff the leather back up or swell it, maybe put some moisture back in it too. But I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it again and see what it really was. I never heard of it.
Huh.
Oh my God, it is afternoon now. Good afternoon, Rhonda. Man, I tell you what, chasing squirrels can kill a lot of time. This Susie person, though, spent a lot of time over here, and she's a saddle builder. She said in her story, her biography kind of thing, is that she started when she was a kid. I'm not sure what her father did. He might have been a saddler, too. But she said even growing up, all she ever wanted to do was be a saddler. And she said she grew up making bridles and little saddles for her pony, which she said when she was like 2 or 3 was actually a rocking horse. And she did that, and then as she grew up and had ponies or horses or rode them, she started making stuff. And eventually she's a fully, I don't guess certified is the right word, but she's a saddler, like you, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know if she learned it all on her own. She said a lot of it she did, though. She said a lot of it just seemed to come natural. But I suspect she probably hung around with people that did that kind of work, and she's very good with leather. And that I didn't look to see if anybody else had seen that show. It's called The Repair Shop. She leaving?
Me?
No, her.
No, I just had a game warden walk into my house. Just come walking in like he owned the place.
Which one is it?
Oh, it's one from camera. Chris Baird's his name. He's about ready to
Hey, Chris, welcome.
Hey, thanks. How are you
This
guys?
is Tim Pruitt. I grew up with him.
Oh, nice. Nice to meet you, Tim.
You
Kinda.
do. You
Kinda
gonna put
crazy.
the cuffs on him and run him in?
He's still flying a Tennessee flag.
That's great.
He brought, here, hand me them.
More Lex sheets.
He brought
Hey.
these,
I've got one of those each.
and he does too, and he wants me to make sheaths for them. So we're talking about making leather stuff, and I got to fix his duty belt for him so he can quick draw on bandits and whatnot.
Evildoers.
Evildoers.
Chris, are you a native? Pull up a chair, Chris. I'll let you go. I won't keep you much longer. But
Are you guys chatting or are you live?
We're on his show.
Oh, very cool.
We do this every Saturday
That's-
morning
that's what your
since I
wife said.
retired.
You were YouTube famous.
I'm a YouTube. I'm on the YouTube.
yeah, we're what do they call them? Influencers. We're not sure what we're influencing. Mostly about squirrels and dead people and animals and
Recently dead people or
No,
anciently
long
dead people?
long dead people.
long dead people.
Mostly long dead people. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly. We get every once in a while we get closer to home, but so where are you from, Chris?
I grew up in central Wyoming. and then I live
So
in
you're
California.
native born.
Yes, sir.
That's cool.
He's another Scotsman.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. Recent imports though. My people didn't get here till about the end of the 1800s.
Oh, you're a pup.
I waited till all the Indians were fought. Then,
Yeah.
Well, my great granddad went and fought the Boers. And that's how he got out of the British Isles. And
Oh, really?
He went
out. Yeah.
He went to South Africa to fight people.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. That'd have been my great.
That was in what, the late in 1890s or before?
Right at the turn of the century.
Yeah, it was a little bit before the First World War. That's when they figured out they needed a better rifle gun.
Yeah.
What do we got? Come here, buddy.
Exactly.
Come here. Will you jump up?
We
We got all kind of wild stuff happening today. I have a hold of a beautiful male Llewellyn setter. If you'll stand up,
Come here.
get up on him.
Come up here.
He is full of all kinds of.
Hey, buddy. Is he a good bird dog?
Oh man, he's turned out really good. He's only a year and a half now, but his first bird hunt, he outperformed my old Draught at her peak when she was 6.
Uh-oh.
He was pointing and retrieving. Did like a quarter-mile blind retrieve, and I've never done 1 ounce of training with this dog.
That's
Okay,
amazing. Well, yeah, some
now
dogs.
he's gonna get up here.
There you go. So we got 2 more. These are out of Kentucky, or out of a kennel in Kentucky, Mountain View.
Yeah.
All goods. Yeah.
So am I. I'm out of
That's
the kennel. Okay, be gone.
Yeah, you are.
He's been wherever Boudreaux's been because he stinks too.
Boudreaux probably introduced him. Said, come here, look at this where we roll. We got this great spot. And it smells wonderful. So how long have you been with the department out there, Chris?
I've been with the department for, this would be 17 years.
Oh, wow. You don't even look that old.
Been a game warden for 14.
Do you go to school anywhere for this kind of training, or do you just get it? You just get a job?
What was that now?
Did you go to school for this, or did you come in like as a technician or something? Or
no, I went to school, and then I wandered around the continent for about 4 years, getting experience, and then.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You go to school out there then?
Yeah, at UW.
UW.
Yeah. At the U of Wyoming.
The official UW.
Yeah.
Is there another one?
No, there's enough UWs though.
There's a lot of UWs in
Washington and Wisconsin. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even counting those yet. That's a different thing. So Mark John had a question. He said, "Is he a poke?" And it sounds to me like he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, Surf Bomb John, he's from New Jersey.
But he was stationed out there.
But he was stationed at Effie Warren.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Got to go hang around missile silos out in the snow.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
They stuck me in Cheyenne for a while.
Knows the Vita Vu country pretty well.
I feel sorry for anybody that has to live in Cheyenne for very long. That's tough.
Mark was up there, but he got kind of out of it. He got out of town.
I worked out of the office there, but I lived in Laramie.
Well, yeah. Then you went up to Wheatland. I don't know if you were based. Were you based out of Cheyenne then too, or Chugwater?
No. When I went to Chugwater, that I was out. I had escaped.
Where are you from, Ian? He said he's got a lot of cowpokes that are friends of his from out there. Look like
Ian's in Denver, isn't he?
Oh, that's right. He's in Colorado. Yeah, he is. That's right. Happy Jack.
Surf Bum talking about the Happy Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something I should know about?
Well, it's the road going up the back way to Laramie.
Oh, okay.
Kind of parallels the interstate. That's the way I always drove to work, even when the weather was bad. And Ian's talking about Chugwater
Water
chili.
chili.
Yeah.
So
Is
great.
that a
They
thing?
still have a chili festival there. It's good stuff.
Oh, they do. They really do.
Yeah, they have a company, a local company. Actually, my neighbor's wife started it, and or my former neighbor's wife started the company, and they had kind of a little co-op that they set up, and the farmers around Chugwater were making chili and selling it. And they have a big chili festival there every year where you can go get your tonsils scalded out.
Well, that could be fun. He fished North
Crow Reservoir.
Yeah, all the time in Lake Hattie. I already
Yep.
talked about Lake Hattie before.
I about lost a dog at North Crow. That was
Oh.
Ella. That was Ella too.
Really?
Yeah, one of my friends shot a goose and it went down on the other side. And she ran out on the ice, 1/4 mile ice, about 2 inches thick.
And dropped through.
And she swam about another 1/4 mile to get that goose and drug that goose back to the edge of the ice. And she about give up. But she wouldn't leave that goose. And she finally, after breaking probably 50 yards of ice to get that goose on the ice, she finally got on the ice and then laid there for about 5 minutes.
Dedicated.
Yeah, and John, a good friend of mine, drove his pickup truck out on the Lake Hattie and dropped it through the ice.
Oh boy, it's still in there.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean he had to pay to get it out of there.
Mm.
Once you could get it done, once it had thawed, you could get your truck out, but couldn't just leave it.
And that's that's something. Chris, I worked for the TVA back here, the Tennessee Valley Authority, and we managed all the lakes and a lot of the rivers and stuff back here. And there was a deep hole on the main reservoir I worked on, Norris, and people used to drive there when they could get back there. We had it gated off when I was there, but they used to drive their vehicles back there and push them off the bluff, and to lose them, insurance or whatever, or they were stolen, and that's where they dumped them. And that bottom of that hole was just full of cars, but back then they just left them. Well, for one thing, they didn't know what all was down there for a long time until they dove it and looked. But
wow,
that North Crow, we have a guy that we worked for that he lived in Cheyenne, and somebody broke into his house and stole all of his firearms.
That was me.
And that was you?
The one that ended up in the lake?
Well, Bill Rudds did too.
Oh.
Yeah, they took all of his firearms and threw them in North Crow Reservoir.
Oh, mine was in what's that? The shitty little lake on the interstate. Absaraka.
Why do they throw them in the Why are they throwing them in the lake?
Well, they were on the run big time, and they were getting rid of evidence. They were chasing them, and they got after him, and he had all these old firearms of his grandpa's and his dad's, and they drove out on the dam of North Crow Reservoir and dumped them off into the deep hole.
Oh man! Did you get him back?
He's got him, and he's always wanting me to fix them for him, and I well, you got to bring them to me before I can do it.
Yeah.
So my place in Cheyenne got robbed. That's what I always say about it. Cheyenne's a really nice place to live because I only got robbed one time when I lived there. But long story short, one of the guns that got stolen from me was a stainless steel Marlin 1895. It was the nicest gun they stole, and they must have chucked it just as they were driving over the lake. They just chucked it out the window.
Absaraka.
But I had my numbers, and I gave them to the deputy that investigated the deal, and he did a damn fine job. He really did. He caught the guys, but they fled back to Mexico, so they didn't actually get them arrested. But we at least know who it was. But anyhow, a fisherman was fishing in Lake Hattie, or not Hattie, Absaraka, and got snagged and reeled up my Marlin 4570, and bless his heart, actually turned it in.
Oh
And
my goodness.
stainless steel gun. It was, I replaced the stock on it, but other than that, it still shoots my cast bullets inch groups.
Was that a
Wyoming people are a different breed.
all right? Did that have a wood stock on it, or was it a synthetic stock for the?
It had the old factory Marlin walnut stock on it. Actually, it was a second stock, that thing, where I fell down a talus slope in Alaska with that gun, and it saved me from crashing my skull, but I broke the stock.
Well, they're good for that sometimes.
So this is the third stock.
The third stock the rifles had.
And I put a laminate on it this time.
Yeah, it's never going to be injured again.
Those are, I guess they call those Alaskan guide guns or something.
Yeah, this one's a guide gun.
Yeah, they came out with those, and since that was a popular thing to do with them, I guess it's time, or a good way to sell them. Made people like me feel macho. If we could buy an Alaskan guide gun,
Yeah, boy, it's a handy little rifle to pack on a horse. I carry it right off the pommel, straight up and down, and the butt sits about level with the swells, and then the barrel's only, it doesn't even make it down to the knees of my horse, so it's just really nice, handy, short little rifle.
Yeah, that's a good size for a horseback.
Yeah, and 4570, it's not like you're shorting much on a 4570 when you cut the barrel down.
No, you're not losing a whole lot. It's pretty good.
It does. It really does. I cast, I don't know if any of you guys cast bullets or not, but there's an old guy that used to make molds. He went by Ranch Dog, and I think he was out of Texas. But I cast a lot of his bullets, and the one for that rifle, a 405 grain Ranch Dog, it does. I can hold inch groups with a scope at 100 with it.
No, that's not bad at all then.
Yeah, especially for a short little lever gun.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I had a Ruger number 3 in 4570, and it was a little shorty, and it was a kicker. I tell you, that thing had punch. It wasn't very big. I always wanted one of the lever guns, and either a Marlin now I wouldn't mind having a Henry, but
Ruger bought Marlin.
Yeah, they did. I hope that turns out good. I mean, I'm a Ruger guy anyway. I've got several of their revolvers and a couple automatics, and
me too.
And had the number 1 for a while, and I hope that works out. I understand they've changed the rifling. They're going to go with their rifling instead of the micro groove that Marlin's had for years.
Yeah,
and but
I saw the first thing they kicked out was the 1895, and they only want $1,400 for it.
Yeah, only. I got out of the business for a while, and I can't believe how much stuff costs nowadays compared to what it was when I used to do buying and selling, or used to have a few things. Man, that's why I'll probably never have a new Henry. I'd like to have a Henry. I've been thinking about getting a Henry Long Ranger, the ones that shoot 243 or 270.
Yeah,
because they've got
proud of those too.
You got one of those too?
No, Henry's awful proud of their.
Oh, they're very proud of them. That's why I probably never owned one.
I know it. It's hard to justify to Mama another fun gun.
No, yeah, I know. That's they're bolt action. I mean, the bolt in that lever gun locks up like a bolt action, so it ought to be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, I can buy a lot. I can probably buy 3 or 4 bolt guns for the same price.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I've looked at some, and for a half to a third of what a Henry costs. So I'll probably never have a Henry like that. They might be my guess. I'd like to have something a little more long range, but I get to come back out. The only thing I've ever hunted with in Wyoming with Mark was a bow. So, and that's been a while back. So
that's how he likes to do it.
I know.
Whoever was from New Jersey, you should have them go in there and schmooze up those Henry boys. I think that's where they're at still, isn't it, New Jersey?
Maybe. They're up that way somewhere, so yeah, they may be.
I think they are. I used to think that was some extension of the old Henry rifles, but then I learned that was just a couple of brothers, a couple like Italian brothers in Jersey.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They bought the rights and all that.
Yeah, no relation.
No relation.
No, none at all. Their name's not even Henry.
But shit, I looked at a new Winchester the day before yesterday, and it's made in Portugal now.
Are they really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Oh.
There you have it.
Sacred.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when they started making them in Japan. Some of them were made in Japan. That was, of course, that'd be pretty good now, probably, but compared to some places. But that and well, I'm not sure about the Belgian stuff, the brownies. Some of those came from over there too, I think. But I don't know where they're made now. Hey, at least that's one thing about the Rugers, though. I think, as far as I know, everything they've got still made here.
Yeah, Tina, this is a huge squirrel that is being chased.
Well, he's the squirrel sitting beside Mark. I mean,
well, I know he came in. He's a big old squirrel.
You'll have to explain that to him later.
Well, she counts how many squirrels we chase.
Oh.
How often we get off topic?
We get off topic, and we like have a topic, and we're like, it's not any time, as you know, that we're off running on something else. So,
well, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're quite welcome. I saw you handling a blade there too. Is that
that's what
homemade or?
I think that's Mark's.
That's Dad had that made for me.
Oh, that's your knife.
Yeah, check out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not.
Oh, I can.
Gotta move it to the right. I can't.
You're good. You had it right there.
I'm trying to get the sun to hit it right.
Right there. Hold it right there. That's the one that John, is that his name? Yeah. That's Purdy's what that is.
That's Purdy.
That's right, Ian. The squirrel came to visit. It's hard not to talk about the squirrel if he's a guest. Yes, Tina or Carol, it's probably history in the making. Oh, she said she's not even counting Chris. Oh, but she did count the weaponry when we started to discuss rifles.
Yeah, when you went off on Henry rifles and whatnot.
Well, I can blame that on Chris too. He can't. I mean, we might not have got to that subject today because he hadn't got here.
We've had 15 to 16 on some Saturdays.
Yeah, but that's when we weren't counting, though, Carol or Tina. Were we? Is he going to have to leave on you?
He is eventually.
Oh, well, I didn't want to run him off if that's what was going on.
You're good.
Well, folks, it's 12:30, so don't you leave yet.
Who?
You don't go yet.
Well, I ain't going nowhere.
It's 12:30, so I guess we've chased about enough squirrels for one day, guys. I appreciate everybody coming. Hit that like button or the dislike button if you prefer. If you're a squirrel chaser, you're right at home, and if you're not, well, you might find a home because we talk about a lot of things. You weren't counting, but Tina was. Well, yeah, she's always watching, always counting. Thanks, Rhonda, for coming in. Have a great day, and everybody else have a great day. And hopefully I'll see you next week. I'll probably do a Thursday night show this week. I'm planning on it. We'll see if anybody shows up for that. I think I scared everybody off last time I did one, so I don't know if anybody will be there or not, but we'll see. I'll try it even if I'm by myself. And but as I usually say, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, folks, I'll see y'all next Saturday. Have a great day. Mark, don't go anywhere yet.
Nice to meet you guys.